Greetings and salutations. Welcome to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share this shit with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. My guest today is a playwright, book writer, lyricist, screenwriter, and poet. Her plays include Phenomenal Woman, Maya Angelou, The Seeds of Abraham, The Sting of White Roses, Crowndation, and The Wiring and the Switches. She and collaborator Ross Baum received the Richard Rodgers Award for their musical Wanted, formerly titled Gun and Powder, which is heading to Broadway next season. She received her BA in Theater from UCLA, MFA in Playwriting from Columbia University, and an MFA in Musical Theater Writing from NYU. The West Coast premiere of her play, Burna Burna, that was inspired by a prison chain gang song from Parchment Farm, opened July 19th and runs through August 25th at the Echo Theater Company in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Angelica Cheri.
Hello. Oh, that was wonderful. That was perfect. The rolling of that R. That was perfect.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
So you're in previews. You just did tech or dress rehearsal the other night. We had this scheduled, and then this came up, and you should have been there. I'm glad you did.
Of course.
How's that process been?
I mean, for one, it's so interesting as the West Coast premiere of this play, because when this play was written first back in 2015, and of course, like, it takes a village to raise a play, right? And so it's been so many years of developmental workshops, readings, and world premieres and things like that. And then I was fortunate for this to be my first published play. So that means, thank you. So that means it's like literally the text is the text, the ink is dry. There's nothing I can do to like mess with it. So do you hear that a ringing?
We do. That is our air conditioning, so we don't melt.
Oh, okay, good. Perfect. I just wasn't sure if that was a problem, if I should stop.
You're good.
Okay, yeah. The process of like after a play has been published and then I can't touch it anymore, it's a unique space to be in as a writer. So I feel like my presence there is like to be encouraging, to look at things, dissect things, ask questions, but it's not the same as like when the play was new. So I have just been having a great time, I feel like Andy is looking at me like, do you have any notes? Do you have any notes? Do you have any thoughts? And I'm like, this is great. Like, what if we move this over a little bit, but it's not, right. I don't have any large, huge, overarching points to share. It's incredible. I'm in love with it.
So I'm kind of torn about this one right now because there's this. Are you part of the Dramatists Guild? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So whatever happened to the Playwrights Bill of Rights? That it's your work. Don't you have the right to change it if you decide to?
I mean, of course, but I mean, I don't have the desire to change it.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. I'm just making sure, because you made it sound like that. No, it's written in blood.
I see what you mean. No, I mean, it feels. I mean, it's done, and I feel like that's also for me. It's more personally for me, like, hands off, Jelly. That's my nickname. Like, don't mess with it anymore, because I have done the digging and the excavating, and it feels good because my life consists of a lot of rewriting to the point where now I feel like I could rewrite anything. Like at any point, at any stage, I could always find something to change, always find a way to make it clearer, better, stronger, stakes higher. And it's nice to just give yourself that line of, once it's published, I'm done. And I can let it go, and it is what it is, and I'm not messing with it anymore. And it's kind of relieving for me.
Sure. Well, since you brought it up, what's your rewriting technique? Like, how do you? I mean, do you stay on those?
It's a loaded question. Yeah. It depends on the piece, and it depends on where we are in the piece. Like, for example, Phenomenal Woman, Maya Angelou, as you mentioned. There was a version of that play that was done in Houston at the Houston Ensemble Theater, and that same version was done in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at the NC Black Rep. That version of the play came away with a lot of great things, but then I also just had some major question about what the dramatic truth was, and I did something that many would consider drastic, but I started all over from scratch. Page one rewrite after already 2-3 years into the process, because I just got curious and thought there was a stronger way forward. So it depends on where the project, that's one piece. on another hand, Wanted, the musical formerly titled Gun and Powder, now it's like needlepoint surgery. What about this one moment, or this one song, or this one new version of the lyrics of the same song that's been there for the past 10 years? So it's all over the place.
Okay, so they're usually are the reasons usually different, or is there is it like I heard it, no, let's go back to the drawing board, or is it do you do it during after a table read? Do you or do you spend time with it on your own first?
Oh, so I see what you mean. The first thing that I have to do is write a messy spaghetti on the wall, everything in the kitchen sink version of the show draft, and hear that out loud. I like to not touch that at all, and hear it with smart, crafty, new development actors. And then I can really feel like I can hear the text, hear what the themes are, what it's trying to say, what the stakes could be. And then I kind of go back and start to sculpt. But the first draw of paint is usually like a very wide, broad stroke. Whereas once I get further down the line, the same questions are always going to be the same questions. Like, is it clear what everyone wants? What's at stake? What's in the way? And if those things aren't clear, then you're going to continue to dig and dig. But then we get more specific.
So I want to change gears real quick. So you mentioned with Phenomenal Woman, it had two separate. Where are you finding your opportunities to submit your work?
So I have been fortunate to have made a very strong village for myself. So the Phenomenal Woman, Maya Angelou, came from Jackie Alexander, who has been like a patron saint of my first few professional productions. Like, he produced my first play out of grad school, and we worked together on a play, The Sting of White Roses, actually, and because he did the original Seeds of Abraham. And then we had the National Black Theater Festival, and my play was again presented in front of several audiences, and he just started to get more of an idea of the span of my work and my voice. And he came to me with the opportunity. He just said, hey, have you ever think about writing a play about Maya Angelou in your spare time? Do you think you have some time to write about Maya Angelou? And that's been one way. Others, like I have the best, hardest working theater agent in the business, Beth Blickers, and she's brought so many awesome opportunities to me. And so it's been a combination of the people who I know, the places that I've already worked, and my agent just on the ground making connections. So
there is your agent finding you the staging opportunities, like, hey, look, there's this theater, there's looking for something that's right up your alley. Are you searching those out yourself, or?
It's a lot of them a lot of those have come from my agent, and I don't think I've submitted to certain things like obviously Richard Rodgers Award and the O'Neill and writers retreats and things like that. But in terms of like productions, like I haven't really submitted for that in a while.
How did you get an agent?
I did a ballsy thing back in grad school where I had a list of agents that we were reaching out to with this theater festival that I was working with. And then I was coming to the end of my second master's at NYU for the musical. And I thought, I'm going to need an agent. Let me just start to invite some people to come and see this reading. Oh, no, it was a reading of The Sting of White Roses that was happening around the same time I was going to have the thesis reading of the musical Gun and Powder. So I just started emailing those agents, inviting them to the reading, and a couple responded, and Beth was the only one who was like, I'll be there at the reading. So she came, and then we started having conversations, and she came to the reading of Gun and Powder when it was still a thesis project at NYU. And so I just knew then she was like day one, ride or die.
Nice. And how long ago was that?
That was 2015. 10 years ago. Wow. Yikes.
Well, congrats. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, right? When you think about it, it's like, oh my God, 10 years?
What changed from when it was a thesis play to what it's become now?
Oh my God. Well, 11 years in the making. We have written over like 110 songs for this show. I know. It's like, and I think about 6 of the original songs remain, and maybe only one or two have been untouched. But every other, there's been like lyrics changed or whole different passes at the music, but the story, everything, like literally the thesis production was only 90 minutes. And we had like the core of what the show was about, but there were so many thematic things that needed to be clarified, and the journey of the two sisters. So we have been chiseling at there's nothing, no stone unturned with this show.
So how many premieres has Berta gone through?
So we had the world premiere at CATF, the Contemporary American Theater Festival, in 2018. And then in 2020, there was a professional production at Everyman Theater. And from there, it's been produced probably at least 10, 12 different places around the country, but never on the West Coast.
What's changed from those premieres until the publication?
Oh, my goodness. So the premieres were specifically, there was a story about just Berta and Leroy, and that had its own passion, and of course it's rooted in the origin story of the prison song, which in my mind, my grandfather August Wilson introduced me to. But we did not have the supernatural element of the cicadas. That was new, and that idea was birthed, interestingly enough. So if you're familiar with the International Black Theater Festival, the structure of it is it brings in, it used to be every odd year, now it's every even year, but it brings in the productions from the previous season and presents about 3 to 5 performances of those plays. So we had Berta was produced at CATF in 2018. So 2019, we brought it to the festival, and in its pure original form. And just walking around the South, because I'm like LA girl. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, one of the rare unicorns. And so I'm not familiar with cicadas.
Right.
It's a strange bug to me, you know? But I remember walking in the South, in Winston-Salem, walking past these trees and hearing a buzzing sound and thinking like, is that a power generator? Like, what is going on? And someone had to explain to me, no, those are cicadas. And I'm like, they just sit like that and just make noise, like just incessantly all day. And it was just like, well, yeah. And I thought to myself, there's something about these bugs, and I don't understand, because the history of the South, in my mind, obviously, is rooted in the history of our country, and within that is slavery. And I'm thinking about the brutal repercussions of what that has meant for the land itself.
Sure.
And for the trees that many people may or may not have been lynched on. I mean, we knew lynchings happened, but we don't know exactly this tree walking, when I'm passing down wherever. And I'm not trying to, imply anything about that city specifically, but just a general statement. So in my mind, I was thinking about, I wonder if the cries of these cicadas are representing the cries of every soul that's been lynched on these trees. And that just kind of stuck in my brain. And I thought, there's something to be mined here between Berta and Leroy, because I felt like there was an element of stakes and of the ticking clock that we didn't really have in the original versions. So I incorporated and baked that throughout the story. And that was what we produced at Everyman. And what was really interesting is we were literally right where we are, a few steps away from where we are at the Echo right now. We were at the invited dress after weeks of tech. And then it was March 13, 2020, and the whole world shut down. It was like, well, guess we're going home. And, I just give honor to Vincent Lancisi, who was like, we're doing this play. And when it was safe enough, we did a virtual production where they recorded that version. But that was the first time we had seen the Berta with the cicadas. And I was like, well, that's it. It makes sense to me. This is what it was meant to be.
How does one raise stakes? What's the trick of knowing when and how to do it?
Well, for one, the time. ticking clock. If you just have endless amounts of time, that's automatically low stakes. If you know something has to happen by midnight, by sunrise, automatically that raises the stakes. And then it goes back to what does the character want? Obviously, Leroy wants to make peace with Berta, and Berta wants something that if I will not specify for
no, we won't give it away. Yeah, sure.
But it's just about how close am I to lose that thing which I want, so much to the fact that I may never ever have it again, and it could ruin everything. That statement, it could ruin everything, like that automatically raises stakes.
Okay. What was the, because you went through playwriting first.
Yes.
And then you went through, musical theater.
Yes.
What different things did you learn from those different programs?
Absolutely. So playwriting started when I was in high school. I started writing plays in high school. And with that, you're just able to create structure. Specifically, I think the difference between plays and musical theater is instrument. When you think about, obviously, playwriting 101, no one can teach you how to write a play. We can give you tools, we can give you structure, and then you create your own form, which is so awesome. But the structure of musical theater is so reliant upon the structure of music. Because I remember sitting in a class, specifically William Finn's class, and rest in peace, we just lost him.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. But it was frustrating to me because I'm like thinking to myself, I've been writing plays since high school. Why am I having such a hard time writing lyrics? I write monologues, I'm spoken word poet, I write poetry. What's the big difference? And then I will never forget, I had to sit down with one of the lyric writing professors, Robert Lee, and he was trying to break it down to me from a clinical perspective. And he said something so brilliant. When you have a monologue, the actor is the instrument, and the actor gets to determine where the beats are, where the rests are, where they're taking the time, taking in air, and they get to control it, and it's going to be different every time you do it. However, with lyrics, the lyrics aren't just independent, existing text on their own. They have to be married to the music, and a piece of music can't just go in 50 different directions at once. It starts with one idea and slowly opens it. It may take one diversion, but then comes back to that one central idea. And then that just opened up everything for me. Like why you can have, like, for example, if you have a bookshelf which you're sitting in front of, you can have a monologue about all these books. But if you're going to write a lyric, you're going to write the lyric about one book, and you're going to go into such minute detail about that same book. But because at the end of the day, music's going to have to go over it. It's going to have to make sense and not be cacophonous. And I was like, oh, okay. But still, the same dramatic things apply. Stakes, character, transparency, all of that.
What's the structure of a song look like on the page?
So it depends on what type of song. The traditional musical theater songs, like from the Great American Songbook, we're talking about Rodgers and Hammerstein, you'll see a lot of AABA. And AABA is, you start with an A section, which has like a thesis of the same idea that's going to keep repeating. And so the first A section is going to have the thesis. The second A is going to expound on that thesis. Then you get a B section where it's a departure, like a different idea. And then you come back to the final A with a new idea incorporated into that same thesis statement. It's just, so it should be a progression. If you do a different approach, which is more contemporary, it's verse chorus, which is what we hear on the radios, you know, the verse or an intro, verse, chorus, maybe there's a pre-chorus. But it's supposed to always mimic or serve the story, the character, and the moment. Like if you have a character who is drunk, maybe they start off in AABA and then they go on to another C and D section because they're drunk and they're trailing off and their thoughts aren't clear. And you can create so many other things. There are so many structures that are in Wanted that are not AABA or verse chorus because of the moment that necessitates. But you'll still find the classic AABA, classic verse chorus.
So you started writing in high school. How much? So I'm going to say training. I'm going to use training because they don't really train in high school for playwriting.
Sure.
So are you doing it yourself, or are you having somebody, a drama teacher, help you and go through things? And how are you teaching yourself if that's the case?
Of course, it's actually really sentimental to me because the first person who ever gave me the tools to say you can write a play was my high school English teacher, Alan Sachs. And Alan Sachs was the person he had a Playwrights in the Classroom program when I was a freshman at Westchester High School here in LA. We had I think we just read Fences for the first time. And I was an actor first, like in middle school. I was like one of those drama geeks doing Shakespeare competitions, like saying Julius Caesar monologues. I have no clue what I'm saying. I'm 12, But I was familiar with drama and Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller, but then I was introduced to August Wilson through Alan Sachs, and I was just like, this sounds like a family reunion in my house, and so that language was juicy to me, and that just really freed me to make me think like, oh yes, I can do this, I can write theater, and so Alan Sachs. Like I wrote my first one-act play in his class, Life Behind the Curtain. Oh my God, teenage angst. And then after being in his class, junior year, I wrote a full-length called Solitaire, even more teenage angst. And that was produced at my school, at Westchester High School. That was a full-length. And that's when I knew it was time to just become a playwright. And I dedicated my first published play to Alan Sachs. I dedicated Bird Bird to him. Was able to present it in this beautiful honor at the Geffen Theater because he took all his students to the Geffen. But he just passed away about 2-3 months ago. So,
another one. I'm sorry to hear that. My goodness.
God, I know, it's just terrible. It's terrible. But yes, near and dear to my heart.
Okay, and then you go to theater at UCLA and you study it. And do you take a playwriting course there, or just stick with all acting, or this is the bird? It was
my concentration was playwriting. Like it was a theater major playwriting concentration. Okay,
so now what's changed? You did it in high school. You got some help from your instructor. Now you're in. Well, I'm going to say the big leagues, which
I mean, compared to just high school. Flying by the seat of my pants, this is what feels right to me. The conversations about Aristotelian structure, denouement, Deus ex machina, like all these different things, devices, and we learn Pina Bausch, and we learn all these different theatrical performers, and we start to like really take in. I think at the time, Speed the Plow was super, popular, and Adam Rapp, and just a lot of. I remember just learning and absorbing a lot of theater and picking up on structure. And but it was all still very playful, still very explorative, and lots of feedback. And I just really appreciated being able to just be in playwriting classes, not just like a little caveat in the English class, but like this is the focal point of the whole class. So that was amazing.
So did you have were there like any aha moments? Like, of course, why I never,
In undergrad?
Yes, yeah.
Excuse me, I don't think so. I don't think that happened until grad school, until Columbia, because
And what were those?
Yeah, those were like, I remember doing a play in this collaboration class Anne Bogart teaches, or I don't know if she still teaches that course, but where we had the actors, the playwrights, the directors, and the producers, and we were all making theater together. And that was an aha moment for me because I wasn't accustomed to production as much. Like that was something that I did, like write, direct, produce in high school, just off instinct. But to really see the craft of directing, the craft of learning how to be in a rehearsal room and learning how to talk to a director, learning all those skills, it was like, oh, right, you really understand why theater is not like novels.
Right,
Because
right.
it's a living, breathing piece of text. You only have half of it when you just have the text.
So this is a complete collaboration. Everybody's while you're writing. So are we doing this like old school Hollywood, where it's just like, hey, here's the first scene. Here you go rehearse, and they'll direct, and we're gonna start working on second scene while you guys are doing that.
You know, it depended on the writer and on the team. I was not that. I was like, here's the whole story. And it was like 10-minute plays. They were not long, but it was just kind of like, we go off, we make our work, we present it, depending on what director you worked with in that particular exercise. There would be changes or not changes. It depended. And then you got to really enjoy seeing the final product.
You mentioned learning all these new devices. Is there a favorite one that you use repeatedly, or is there, or do you? It's like, you have you have your voice, you have your trademark stuff. It's like, oh, I know, I recognize this. I know who wrote this.
I don't even know if I'm aware of it, because I was such a structure rebel in the beginning. I was like, I don't even need that. I wanted to just do and feel intrinsically what felt natural to the story. I know magical realism is definitely a piece of like comfort for me. Like, I'm always looking for the supernatural element in something. I love a good surprise twist. I love the foreshadow. I'm a foreshadower. If I'm thinking about this in real time right now, I love this question because it's challenging me to look at all of the things that I've done and the patterns. I definitely rely heavily on foreshadowing in a way that you would not know that I'm foreshadowing.
Do you know that you're foreshadowing?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. In the first draft, probably not. In the first draft, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll lay some breadcrumbs, or I'll say something. Oh, I'll come back to that. That's interesting. I don't even intend to go anywhere with that, but I like the way it sounds. Let's make something of that. At the end of the day, sometimes I sit back and realize and remember, oh, right, what we do for a living is make believe. Let's remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
How does one foreshadow? How can that be taught? I mean,
I think you keep in mind what the big reveal is, and how can you appropriately, in a way that serves the story, just present a little bit of that, a little piece of the crust of that bread without showing what the whole thing is. How do you make it surprising or even funny to where people will, if they were paying attention, like, oh my God, she did say, and it went right over their heads.
Okay, so that was my next question. Is that done through dialogue, or is it done through stage directions or anything like that?
For me, it's dialogue. It depends on the story, really. Like, if you see something hidden in Berta, there's definitely foreshadowing that's done both in the text and in the physical life of the production. But again, I can't.
Sure.
Yeah, but both.
Okay, and then the Richard Rodgers Award. What is that?
Yeah, so obviously the iconic Richard Rodgers, Oscar Hammerstein, the book and lyrics, book lyrics, and then composer collaboration of the top of just history. And there's an awesome award that rewards new musicals with a production grant, so that there can be a workshop production or some sort of production element at a professional theater in New York City where the musical can grow.
And what was the process of applying for that?
So the nerve-wracking thing about applying for the Richard Rodgers Award is that you can only apply one time per piece.
Okay.
For example, with NAMT, the National Alliance of Musical Theater, you could apply multiple times with the same show. If you went back, crafted it, made some changes, it got rejected one year, but then you can come back and with your stronger draft and potentially get accepted. That's what happened for us with Gun and Powder. But with the Richard Rodgers Award, it's like you get one shot. So I remember we had to present the book and about 8 songs and describe the moments. And yeah, we just sat. The funny thing about that is that the results came to Ross is junk mail, his spam folder.
Oh, no.
He hadn't seen it. And so they waited and waited for our response. And then someone called Ross and was like, so are you guys going to accept the award? And he's like, what award? What do you mean? That was just email magic.
So you're only they're only basing it on the book. They're not basing it on any music whatsoever.
No, you sing about 8 songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right, good. I kind of missed that. I'm like, that's kind of difficult. It's like, hey, yeah, all right, I guess so.
I know. I mean, but the Cleveland Award is like that, where you, for the lyricist and librettist, like you submit. If you do the libretto, it's just the libretto with the lyrics but no music. In the lyric application, you want to send demos, but you don't have to.
I would hope you don't want to. I mean, you can read the song, but that doesn't. You got to kind of hear it.
You kind of have to hear it, but it's about the craftsmanship of the words. So,
what the Cleveland Award? What is that?
The Cleveland Prize. So Edward Cleveland, another godfather of musical theater writing, awards. You get. There's an award for libretto, just for the book, the script, and there's an award for the lyrics. And those are normally 2 different people. And that's a sizable amount of money and a prestigious award that you are granted for applying to and having outstanding lyrics and an outstanding libretto.
What do you enjoy doing more, playwriting or musical writing?
Oh my God, I can't even... It's like choosing a favorite child. I really...
Come on, Sophie, let's hear it.
I know, right? Oh my God. And it's like, don't tell TV and TV and film that I'm here, right? My other 2 kids. No, I do... I think that there are beautiful things that I get from either piece, and which is the perfect time to ask this question, because I was just in New York with the workshop production of Wanted, and I was just like, oh my God, being in the room with incredible voices, incredible music, just singing, lifting up to the rafters. It's hard to have a bad day when people are just joyfully singing all the time. It's possible, but it's difficult. And there's so many voices in a musical, especially when it's headed to Broadway. There's just a lot of different opinions and a lot of different elements that end up getting incorporated into the story. Mm-hmm. Now, a play is so personal. Something like Berta Berta is so personal, and it feels much more like just a singular, pure expression of my voice, and it just feels like a nice little nestled world that I said this to Andy Chapman. Every time I watch this play, it feels like I'm just sitting at home under a blanket with some hot cocoa and just curled up by the fire, of something that was deeply personal to me. Mm-hmm. So there's something different from each form.
Now, I know it's not a musical.
Yeah.
But because it is based on a Chain Gang song.
Sure.
So there's still musical elements, I would imagine, or it doesn't even come into play at all?
Well, there has definitely been a score of sorts built. Sure. Our incredible sound director, designer, and Andy has a beautiful texture of jazz and work song, gospel, little bit of the prison song. There's a tapestry, but that was something that came from the genius of our collaborators, because I never want to be too prescriptive about anything in a play or a musical other than the words, other than the story, because I don't think that it can look just one way. I don't think there's just one way to do it, and I want to see what brilliance that the other collaborators bring to the table, even the actors. That's what's so rewarding about seeing different productions.
I don't want to say how involved, and I don't want to say how much input, because I know that you probably had a lot of input. How much did you give? Did you just kind of sit back and watch, and if they have a question, I'll be happy to answer it, or whatever? Or did you just did you how much chiming in did you do?
In this case, not much. It was mostly the former, which you said, hey, I'm here to answer questions and I'm here to reflect things, but I'm really kind of hands off. And it was not necessarily, I would have trusted Andy, Casey, Dewan, intrinsically, period. But also on top of that, I was, for the first 2.5 weeks of rehearsal for Berta, I was still in rehearsal in New York for Wanted. So I couldn't, and they were literally happening at the same time, even on 2 different coasts. So it was just I couldn't do as much as if I even would want to.
Right.
But I remember coming back to LA from New York and watching and thinking they got it. I said a few things to the cast. I said a few things to Andy and stepped away and then came back and I was just they've got it. I'm not worried about
So
anything.
no missed moments or anything like that? Was oh boy, you totally...
Not whatsoever. Not even close.
What was the catalyst to the name change from Gun and Powder to Wanted?
It was a long discussion, but it was something that the producers had smartly picked up on for a while before, because just the word gun is so controversial, especially right now, even though it's not at all being used in that context in the show. Literally, because we had a production at Paper Mill Playhouse last year, and when we got the metrics back for the online outreach, we learned that there was a large percentage of audiences that we were supposed to have reached, but they were blocked by firewalls just because the word gun just automatically triggered things from multiple platforms. And so it was just okay, that's too much of a liability. We need to make a change now.
Wow. What were you using for analytics?
I don't know. Thankfully, I have no no dealings. Just the thought of that just makes me queasy. I'm someone else do it because
Sure.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is the only role that you have in Berta. Berta is just as the playwright.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if you were performing in it, you wouldn't be here right now.
Right. And be my understudy's on tonight.
How did the West Coast premiere fall into place?
Beautiful, wonderful Chris Fields. I believe he received the play from Beth. Again, my patron saint angel agent sent, because they have a long-standing relationship, Chris and Beth. I think he read Berta, and instantly, and of course I don't want to tell it for Chris because the way Chris tells it is amazing, but he just fell in love with the story. And we met in 2021 when he did a reading of the play, same configuration, Casey and Dewan, Andy directing. And just from that reading, it was clear, yep, they got it. This is it. And then we were just waiting for the right time for the production to come to fruition.
No, so was it? I'm sorry, and you may have said this, and if you did, I apologize.
No.
It was same team as 2020 or
2021.
Yeah,
same team.
No, but I meant when you get everything up locked down, the March 13th. Was it this and the?
No, different. So that was Mixolydia Tyler and Clinton Lowe in, originally Clinton Lowe and Mixolydia Tyler, and then it became Gabriel Lawrence and Mixolydia Tyler in Baltimore with Everyman. But I believe both Casey and Dewan are members of the Echo, I know Casey's a member and Chris knew Dewan. However, he just knew those two, boom, Andy Chapman, boom. And I was great, I'm on board.
Now that is, so what I'm going to say, so that's the production team, but what about, did all the actors come back as well? Everybody that was originally cast in 2021 came back for this? Or is it?
Just those two.
Oh, it was just, okay.
It's just those two people, Casey and Dewan.
Got it. So it's a two-hander.
It's a two-hander.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that part. I just automatically assumed it was probably a good size cast.
Two-hander.
So what's changed from 2021 to 2025? Even though I know they got it, obviously, but nothing changed?
Well, I mean, I feel obviously life definitely informs everything. So even as a writer, so as a performer, as I can imagine. And it's almost unfair to say, because with 2021, they only had 2 days with it before. Right. But what was so interesting, so Dewan plays the harmonica in real life. And I remember when he played the harmonica for the reading and he brought it back for the production, and it was this is genius.
Nice.
But just because at the end, yes, it's about a prison song and it's about the mythology of these cicadas, But at the core, it's a love story, and the chemistry is palpable, and the stakes, you feel the stakes.
What has been your biggest struggle or obstacles in your whole playwriting aspect, or the things that you struggled with, or obstacles that you had to overcome in regards to your writing and whatnot, or
craft wise or like business wise?
Both, absolutely. Yeah, whichever one you want to cover first, absolutely.
I mean, learning the business of being an artist is a huge deal that I don't think grad school prepares you enough for, and it's rightfully so, because you have to deal with that so much out in the real world. I love the fact that they keep the sanctity of just be an artist, just write your stuff. I think what's the hardest thing, I'll say this, the hardest challenge about the business of the writing is retaining the integrity of your original intention when incorporating things that are purely business questions, business concerns, business notes. It's about the commercial clarity or palatability or whatever else. Like when that starts to influence the work, that gets tricky, because then you have to learn how to make the decisions that honor the note, because it's like you can dismiss the note and say, forget it, this is my story and I'm not listening to anything you say. And then you can not have a production, and a lot of things get shut down that way. And I think it's not about compromising your integrity. I think it's about learning how to hear what the note underneath the note is. Because I usually find that people, non-writers, giving writers notes, always write the wrong prescription.
Right. Yeah.
They will always point something out and be like, well, this such and such, so do this. And it's like, you've identified something that is real, something that is a real concern that I can really work on, but you've told me the absolute wrong way to fix that. So let me think back about what you're actually asking me to do. What are you pointing towards, and how can I answer that in not the same way that you've asked me to answer it? That's the trick of the business part of this.
Do you have to be strategic in saying that I appreciate you providing the problem, but I'll come up. It's my job to come up with a solution. Is it,
I think I think at first that's the impulse.
Sure.
I think the wiser you get at the business, you just get craftier at hiding that. You just say, oh, thank you so much, I'm going to think about that.
Okay.
And you go home and you do that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. What the hell is wrong with these people? And then you're like, oh, but wait, okay, that's interesting. That's not interesting, but that's interesting. And I find that if you change one thing, everything else feels different. And people hear stuff that's been there the whole time. I cannot tell you how many times. This is kind of like a cross. It's not just any one thing. This has happened in theater, musical theater, where it's like, I changed this little thing over here, and all of a sudden, oh my God, what you did with this part in the beginning. And it's just like, I ain't changed that. That's been the same thing for the last 5 years. You just didn't hear it until I did this. And all of a sudden, now your ears, so it's fascinating.
Do you have an example that, here's the problem, here's the solution, and then you're stupid?
That's a great question. And I'm like, how can I say this in a way that won't give away, won't offend anyone, and won't give any spoilers away? So let's see.
Doesn't have to be this play. It could be different. Yeah.
Because I don't think I have any examples with this play.
Okay.
But let's say, for example, with in Wanted, right? There was a note. I don't know who it came from, because it was like in a compiled. Our producers, I'll say, I have really smart producers. P3 is genius at the way that they compile notes from so many different sources. And they funnel down and they give us some, a digestible packet of okay, here are some notes. And there are some I can pick out and I'm like, no, that's the craziest. Like there was a note where someone had asked to explain why the mother, show the mother understanding, have the two daughters sit and explain to the mother all the things that they're going to do when they go off on the road so that she will know how endangered they are. And I sat back and thought about that, and I was just like, that makes no sense, because if these two daughters are leaving home to go and rescue their mom and trying to formulate a plan on the run, they don't know what they're going to do. They can't sit and explain something to their mom that they don't know. Like, I'm running away. Let me explain to you what I'm going to do when I run away. Like, that's an asinine thing, right? But it's like, okay, what's the real note underneath the note? Mm-hmm. The note is they feel like the stakes aren't clear in the beginning. And that has to change, right? So what do? We changed a whole bunch of things in the prologue, in the opening scene, and just reframed the beginning. And now we don't get that note anymore. It's not the same note, but it's just like, oh my God. I don't know what people think sometimes. It's really fascinating to me.
So in the theater, we have this thing called show, don't tell.
Yeah.
You know, and say,
I can't tell you how many times people just ask, just tell us. And I'm like, no. And if you have missed it by now, it's too late for you. Anyway, oh my gosh. You shouldn't be watching theater.
Wow. Yeah. All right. That's fair enough.
Right?
Okay. So let's talk about the craft now.
Yeah.
Any things you had to overcome craft-wise?
Yeah.
You know, or obstacles was like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I mentioned that I was like a structure rebel at one point, and was just like, I don't care about Aristotelian device. I don't care about like the obligatory, whatever.
Right.
And I would find myself writing myself into a corner where I didn't know where to take things next, because I was so resistant to form and structure, because I found it boring. I found it like so repetitive. But actually, funny enough, it was working in film that informed me in terms of like, hey, every film, you're going to have to do the 3-act structure thing. You're going to have to do the inciting incident, midpoint, all the dark night of the soul. Like, you're going to have to get over it.
Right.
And taking that shape and looking at putting it over the lens of theater, I'm starting to think about, well, this is just another form of Aristotelian drama at the end of the day. How can I bury this and just make it work for me? Obviously, it's not a prescriptive formula for all plays.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's something to be said about, okay, where's the dark night of the soul? And then there's moments where you have brilliant producers who will sit next to you in rehearsal and say, where's this character's dark night of the soul? And I'm like, God bless you. Thank you. So... yeah.
Is that the what do they call it? And save the point of no return?
Yeah, well, no, point of no return is like in the beginning. It's like the inciting incident.
Right.
Save the cat. I forget. Do they call it the Dark Night of the Soul there too?
I don't think so.
That's
why I was like. That's why I was trying to like. What is that? Where's that term coming from?
I think denouement probably.
Okay.
It. Yeah. Dark Night of the Soul is like right at the end. Like towards the end, like the all hope is lost.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, I said point of no return, but yeah, all hope is lost.
All hope is lost. There we go. I knew if we did this tennis thing, we were gonna get there eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, the all is lost moment. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. All right. So then all of a sudden, so what? I don't want to say what did your structure look like. So how do you approach it now? I mean, do you outline? Do you know or? What are the rules that you follow?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the story. It depends on the form. Okay. If it's TV, film, that's its own thing.
Sure, 100%, yeah.
If it's a play, I like to just, what are the moments that I know are there?
Okay.
Like, I know I want this moment to happen. I know I want this moment to happen. Let's, find a way. Let's just walk through the play and just throw a bunch of stuff, and have fun. Right. Let's play the floor is lava, right? All of a sudden, boom, this person can just jump out the window, right. It doesn't have to make sense. And that's the version that I like to hear out loud. And I throw in okay, I'm following a very loose beginning, middle, end, just path in my mind without too white knuckle grip
Right.
tightly holding on to like structural rules and form, because it's like at the end of the day you want to be crafting an experience.
Sure.
And you don't have the confines of, okay, we know this is coming, we've got commercial breaks, we need this, we need that.
Right.
You get to figure out your own structural container, which is fun. But I want to find my own organic way through it. So it'll just be that beginning, middle, end, and everything in the kitchen sink thrown at it. And then hear it out loud with smart actors who are going to ask questions and reflect things back to you. And then I'm like, okay, aha, now we can outline, now we can structure, now we can make a shape.
So you just vomit on the page and just nonstop, and just whatever comes out, and then whatever I've got, that's it, and then we'll figure it out from there once I hear it.
Pretty much, yes. There may be some sort of like a very loose outline, like maybe it's like 5 bullet points.
Sure.
Here's this, and this, and this. Great, we'll figure it out.
Now, do you edit while you're doing this, or do you go back and revisit it, or is it like this is where I left off, this is where I'm starting back up?
I try not to edit when I'm doing that, because then I start to think second draft brain. And I'm like, no. This actually comes from, it's not something that I just invented myself.
Sure.
So when I was at Columbia, the brilliant Craig Lucas assigned us.
He's still around, I hope.
He is, thank God. Oh my God. He assigned us this awesome prompt. He said, your childhood playful mind is the most awake first thing in the morning, before you've looked at your phone, before you've read the news, before you've had your coffee. That childhood brain is awake and alive. And then over the course of the day, with multiple stimuli and whatever, then the critic comes on, and then you start to think all the things about the reviews and the structure and the producers and all of that. And so he challenged us to wake up for 5 days in a row, before you look at your phone, before you text anybody, have any coffee, food, anything, you write nonstop for about, I think it was an hour, 90 minutes, and just stop. When you're done, stop. Don't reread anything you've read. Don't go back the next day and read things from before. Don't edit. Don't erase anything. And just go. And then at the end of that week, he told us to go and hear it out loud with good actors. And that has become my my process, period. Because at the end of that week, I had about 90 pages of this play called The Yin and the Yang, which was an acid trip, basically, metaphorically speaking. But it was like, I see it now. I get it. And that was so helpful for me.
You used the term form a couple of times. I don't think form is anything we've really actually covered in any of these episodes. So
interesting.
For those that may not know, what is form, and how do you approach it?
Well, it's interesting, the as opposed to structure, you're saying, the difference between structure and form. Yeah, I think like when you're thinking about form, you're thinking about the framing device, and you're thinking about the container that the piece is going to live within. Within that would be the structure, but you're just like, for example, Berta, it's 90 minutes nonstop. There's no intermission. Maybe like more close to like 85 minutes.
Sure,
but the point is, it's all about the night before he goes to jail, which is not a spoiler. We know he goes to jail. We don't have a prison song if there's no jail. But it's like, okay, that's the container. That's the form that it's taken.
Okay.
This is a nonstop. We call it French drama, unity of time, unity of place, action, because it's not like all of a sudden like we're spanning a week, 2 weeks, 2 years in this play. It's literally like 4 hours long in real time in the real world. And so there's 3 scenes, and each of those scenes is a different moment within that night. So that's the form that it's taken. It's like a night, a clandestine, spiritual experience between these 2 lovers. For me, that's form.
Okay.
That's the container. That's the framing device. But the structure is that beginning, middle, end, and it's all of
Sure,
that.
exactly. Yeah. So, do you always know the form before you start?
No. Sometimes it reveals itself to me in the process. Sometimes I go in there knowing the form, which was with Berta. Like, I know this is the night before he goes away. That's what I know. I think I forget who said this now because it's like all the schooling. I was in college for a total of 9 years.
Wow.
So sometimes it's hard to separate who said what. But I remember someone who instructed us, before you sit down to write the play, make a list of everything you know. You know this has to happen. You know it's set here. You know it's this amount of time, whatever. Write the list of all the things that you know and use that as a guide for when you're just going in. And then there's a list of different things that you write when you are doing a second draft. But the first draft, what do you know for certain? And then the rest will reveal itself.
And are there things that when you say that when you approach a second draft, there's other things you list?
Yeah.
So are those always the same, or does it just depends on the piece?
It depends on the piece, obviously, of course.
Right, yeah, I guess, yeah.
But what's interesting, though, is there's some questions, there are some things that apply regardless of the piece. For example, the thing I haven't said yet. That's a Leslie Avazian writing exercise. Like, what have I not said yet in this piece? And I usually don't get there maybe until like 3 or 4 or 5 drafts in. Like, all the themes, all of the questions, all the things that I think that I explored. Well, what's the one thing that I haven't said yet that I think is the core about what this play is about?
How do you know how to identify that?
You have to listen. You have to be listening. I think that's why it's so vital to sit in the rehearsal room and hear all over again. And the repetition, the rehearsal, rehearing all over and over. Oh, okay, he keeps saying this, he keeps saying this, he keeps saying this. But then he never said anything about this, though. And that's the core of what he's hiding. Oh, that's what I haven't said yet.
And does that become a character reveal then?
Sometimes. Okay. It depends. In musicals, it's a song sometimes. And it could become another scene. It could inform the whole rewriting of a second act. Depends on what kind of play sandbox you're in for whatever play you're working on. Is that how
Phenomenal Woman got rewritten all the way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you realized what you hadn't said?
There's a lot that I hadn't said. Well, because the first version of Phenomenal Woman was so beautifully autobiographical. But I thought, looking back at it, and phenomenal work done, everyone included, the actors, director, like it was a beautiful piece of theater. But I was thinking, like, we tried to, because when you have Maya Angelou, you have 84 years of, like, profundity to explore and excavate. She has 7 autobiographies. And I'm thinking, like, you want to try to give the most digestible 2-hour and some change experience on the stage you can give so people have a knowledge of who she is and how she came to be. But what I noticed watching that first set of productions is we ran through boom, 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 get through all these eras, get through decades of material in her life, and we know all these facts, but we don't feel her as a person because we haven't had time to sit in that. And so it's just like, what has Maya Angelou in this play not said yet? I don't know what I'm doing. That's been the impetus for the new direction.
So went from 2 hours and some change to how much?
Maybe just 2 hours.
Okay. So it sounds like who was it? I want to say it was Oliver Mayer. We talked about framing, and it sounds like the framing was missing because you wanted the whole big picture of her entire life rather than just like, we're going to focus just right here, exactly. And everything else will, speak to itself. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, the framing device completely changed. It's completely not the same anymore.
How do you approach character? Do you know everything about them before you sit down to write, or do you just listen to them and tell you who they are?
I know some key things about them. And, well, for the case of Maya, it's all given.
Sure.
So then that's not the task. The task is what is not being articulated on the page. We know the finished product of who she became, and her interpretation, her memory, her recounting of how she got there. But what's in between those lines? what were the sleepless nights? What were the moments of like, I'm just like sitting up all night. I can't sleep. I need to go out. I need to have a date. I need to have a drink. That, and the guffawing and just going back and forth with James Baldwin, because they were thick as thieves, best friends. And it's just like, can you imagine James Baldwin and Maya Angelou at happy hour? Delicious. Like that's the play. Yeah, like you just kind of find the things. But for something like Berta, what did I know about Leroy and what did I know about Berta when I started? A few things. Maybe a list of a few things, and then the rest, the play just revealed to me.
Can you give examples?
Well, I knew Leroy went to jail.
Got that, okay.
And I have to be careful because I feel
Fair
like
enough.
you're baiting me into
Don't want to give
spoilers.
anything away because I don't want to know either.
Great, right. It's like I knew there was a crime. Obviously, sometimes you have to make a mathematical equation, even though I hate math. I will say this. I say this a lot. I don't dislike math. It's the numbers that confuse me.
Sure.
It's like there's math in human emotion, right? So the math of he's going to jail. Then, therefore, there's got to be a crime. What's the crime? Okay, right? So I knew there was the crime. And then I knew there was Berta. And then what was so interesting is I have these lyrics of the song, Berta. And that's what called me to the story in the beginning, is that there was a wealth of information about their relationship just from the lyrics. When you marry a railroad man, don't marry a farming man. I'm on old parchment, Bird is in Meridian. I might not want you when I go free. It's just like, what is this? This is not just any ho-hum, working hard on a chain gang, sun till sun up, sundown. It's not that song. I was like, how do you get this specific about a prison song when there's no real story? There's gotta be a story. Where's the story? Lost to oral tradition until now, whatever fictionalized version of the truth.
Sure.
But I knew Berta lived in Meridian. I knew that she wasn't married. And I knew that she had a loud beating heart for Leroy that maybe she didn't want to admit. And the rest just revealed itself.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
How much creative license did you take with Phenomenal Woman?
In the beginning, in the Houston and Winston-Salem draft, not much.
Right.
A few. But now, there's still, because there's so much material, it's very informative. And so I think of it like historical fiction. It's like, sure, there were many conversations between Maya and Jimmy, but did they go down like that? Probably not. Like, for example, this is not a spoiler. In the beginning, Maya tries to write a play, and this is real, what happened in real life. She writes about this, and I think at the heart of a woman. Her first play she takes, it's called One Life, One Love, to the Harlem Writers Guild. And she sits there. They have to read the plays out loud. She's reading her play out loud. And she gets to the end. And someone sits next to her and says, well, for a play entitled One Life, One Love, I found very little life and no love. And you think, dang, like Maya Angelou got shafted, like just read for filth for her play. And then she sits down to James Baldwin, who's like, it's awful. Like, it's like hysterical, but real.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, it's fun to imagine what else they bickered about and what other things they drank other than Johnny Walker, which we knew was their drink of choice.
Red or black? Or blue?
I
or
think
green?
it's black.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now?
Other than...
Yes, other than. Obviously, we know this, but I mean, writing-wise.
Yes. Yeah, other than Wanted and Berta and Phenomenal Woman, Maya Angelou, I am working on a few things in the TV film space that can't speak on completely yet, but feature film-wise, and some in the animation space.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And hopefully a new TV series sometime soon. There's a pilot brewing. Okay. I write very happily. I'm so proud to be part of the Godfather of Harlem family. We're on our 4th season that just finished.
Oh, congrats. Yeah.
Thank you. So we hope we get a 5th season. And yeah, I'm like, I literally float back and forth between film, TV, musical theater, straight theater.
So theater's on hold for a little bit as far as writing goes.
Well, no, because there's Wanted and Phenomenal Woman.
But those are complete, though, yes? Or not in your mind?
No, I mean, so Phenomenal Woman is just off of a page 1 rewrite, so it's still like in the formative stages. Like that, I literally just had a 29-hour workshop last weekend for Phenomenal Woman. But Wanted will be on Broadway next spring, and it's like, what I'm learning is until Broadway opens, until opening night on Broadway, pencils up, pencils sharpened, we're still crafting.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Where can people find your work? Obviously, the Echo Theater in Los Angeles through August 25th.
Exactly.
Where can people find Berta Berta? Because it's published now.
It is published on TRW, yes. And so everything I'm doing is all housed on my website, angelicacheri.com. And then also, I'm pretty active on Instagram.
That was my next question. Are you on the socials?
I am on the socials. Mostly Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on X anymore. And not much. I just kind of poke my head out, look, and then go back. Like, oh, scary place.
Do you want to throw those socials out?
Yes. Everywhere is at Angelica Cheri, ANGELICACHERI, at a .com at the end, and you're on my website.
I love it.
There we go.
Well, Angelica Cheri.
Yes!
Thanks for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share this show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, until we see each other again, keep writing.